Tomorrow is not guaranteed, and today we live in a world where politics consumes everything we do. The world around us is constantly changing. We have so much information on our fingertips, but sometimes curiosity steers the decisions that we make. Therefore, in a world such as this, or ours, we need to discuss all things politics. We need to understand the purpose of why we should engage in politics and do our civic duties, and why we should be good even when our politics are not inspiring. We know that now and again, and oftentimes, human flaws get in the way of what we do or what we intend to do. But what if our politics is just as bad? Or what if our politics are just divisive, but yet the people want to be good, or the people want to do the right thing? Here in our conversations on this platform, we discuss everything that we can about why politics is important and why we should engage in all of our politics so that we can build the kind of society and the kind of future that we envision. We have to build a future that we like and one that we want. Here we discuss justified politics.
Hello, and welcome to Justified Politics Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Ngambi. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Today, we're very honored and privileged to be joined by a guest that I highly respect and that most Zambians actually appreciate for his intellectual honesty and his decency when it comes to the issues of politics and good governance. The most honorable Wynter Kabimba, State Counsel, who is also a recipient of the Order of Distinguished Service, who also served as former Minister of Justice under the Michael Sata administration, and also who's been around Zambian politics for many, many years. He is the right person to speak to the issues that we discussed today, including issues of citizenship, of politics, of religion, of building institutions, and subsequently building a nation. This discussion today covers many grounds, but yet it points us to the moral issues of our time, the things that our country faces, but also the footprints of history in our politics. As I mentioned, Honorable Wynter Kabimba is someone that has not only seen history unfold as Zambia crossed into multi-party democracy from one-party participatory democracy, but also he's been part of that journey and speaks to issues that he witnessed, things that he has seen, and things that he participated in, especially during the time of the 1996 general elections. As Zambia goes to the polls just a few days away, we also cover things that are relevant to our contemporary issues pertaining to elections, pertaining to partisan politics, and also just the psyche of the Zambian people, how they perceive things, how they participate in politics, and what actually matters to them after all is said and done. So in our episode today, we discuss all things politics. I'm very thrilled to have this opportunity to sit down with Honorable Kabimba. In fact, I've been trying to get hold of him and trying to bring him on our program for quite some time now. Now that we have him here, we're going to definitely have a fascinating discussion. And we encourage all of you to watch this episode to the end, because this is going to be nothing but very informative and even thought-provoking. Thus, hang tight. This is Justified Politics Podcast. Honorable Wynter Kabimba, State Counsel, President of the Economic Front, and Order of Distinguished Service. Thank you very much for joining Justified Politics Podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, Aaron. Very well, thank you. And how are you?
I'm well too. I've been looking forward to this discussion for a long time. I'm glad you could make time.
The day has come.
The day of reckoning is here. The day of reckoning is here.
Yes.
To start with, President, I have heard you on more than one occasion talk about how, you'd like people to practice politics of character.
Yeah.
I know this is something that you have said many, many times. You're very passionate about this, and you don't mince your words when you say this. So I wanted to start with a question for you. And the question comes from one of the philosophers. Aristotle poses this question, and I think we would discuss this as we go into our discussion today. But the question is a good man the same as a good citizen? Is a good man the same as a good citizen? What do you think, especially when it comes to, what do you think of this statement, especially when it comes to politics, when it comes to citizenship, when it comes to democracy, when it comes to morality as individuals?
Well, my view and interpretation of that statement is this: that a good man does not necessarily have to be a good citizen, and vice versa.
Yes.
I mean, you can be a very kind person, you can be a very loving person, you can be a very generous person, but be a very bad citizen.
Mm-hmm.
Because citizenship entails your fulfillment of your obligations as a citizen to your country.
Yeah.
It's not confined, to your being nice and loving to your family and to your community. It involves establishing and feeding that obligation and identity towards your country. And to do that, you don't have to be kind. You don't have to be a nice person.
Mm.
You just have to feel that sense of identity that I'm Zambian, I'm British, I'm whatever, and my country defines who I am and gives me that identity. Now, that has nothing to do with the emotions of love, kindness, generosity, etc., etc.
Or things such as morality. Yes. There's nothing to do with that.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I think the answer that you've actually given is exactly the argument that Aristotle makes in his works, The Politics. He talks about, being a good man is not necessarily being a good citizen. Those are not the same thing. Because like you've said, you could be a good citizen, but you can still be a very bad person without morals, without character. But vice versa as well. You can be a good person, morally upright, but yet you can be a terrible, terrible citizen.
Yeah.
But on that footing, I wanted us to begin from that because, like I said, one of the people I've heard who's emphasized the issue of morality in our politics, the issue of character in our politics. Why is that so important to you?
It's important because it goes to determine the role that you are going to play in the politics of your country and the affairs of state of your country. And the two people that come to mind when I say that are Confucius and Lee Kuan Yew, the first Prime Minister of Singapore. Lee Kuan Yew borrows from Confucius that only the right person can do the right thing. And I think he was very right.
Yeah.
And yet in Africa, and even in Zambia in particular, we believe that somebody can a bad person can become a cabinet minister and get to do the right thing, which is not possible. Confucius says only the right person can do the right thing. And therefore, if you are going to be looking for people to render service to a nation, you must start by looking for good people that can in turn do the right thing. Find the right people because you are sure that the right people will do the right thing. And I think that philosophy is correct. And that's why for me, who participates in politics in my country, who takes up appointments, who is appointed, is something that is of great concern and significance to me.
Yeah.
I pay attention to people's character. You know what Winston Churchill once said. He said, I don't pay attention to what people say. I pay attention, to what they do. I watch what they do.
Yeah.
Because what they say may be completely different from what they do. And yet what they do is what their character is, not what they say.
And the politicians have a reputation for that. They always do the opposite of what they say, in most cases.
Yeah, you know why they do that? Because they are convinced that the human mind judges people's appearance and does not concern itself with the character of the people.
Yeah.
So the politician knows that is like a scammer. If you are going to walk into a bank and you want to rob a bank and you are looking ragged, and immediately you arouse suspicion.
Yeah.
But if you walk into a bank looking immaculately dressed, turned out, nobody will suspect you, even when you have zero kwacha in your account. So the politicians have come to learn over time that don't waste your time about telling people, what is right or wrong. Just appear to be good. Just appeal to their emotions.
Is this why we've seen our politicians, especially Zambia in particular, whether, we go back a few years back or even currently, a lot of them want to use the church. They are humble, they are church elders, or they're always, walking with their hands on their chests, appearing to be, almost saints.
Yes. Yes, because see, the presumption is that everybody who walks into a church building is pious. Okay? That's the presumption. The presumption is that everybody who goes to church is a good person.
Yeah.
My argument is simple. That church does not make you a good person. Neither does not going to church make you a bad person. I think there are a lot of good people out there who don't go to church. And conversely, there are a lot of bad people that go to church.
But wouldn't someone argue to say, at least by someone going to church, you would think that they have good intentions? They want to do
exactly. Again, it gets back to the principle of appearance.
Yeah.
If I want to cover up what I do, let me walk into a church building because nobody will suspect me.
Yeah.
Okay. So I walk out with my hands clasped, or put them at the back, walk very slowly, give some semblance of piety and righteousness. Nobody would think that I would rob a bank.
I will give
Let
you
alone even steal money from the same church.
I will share with you an experience I had. This is, I think, 2003 or 2004. Right after I was just finishing high school. I heard that my father had told me that the late President Dr. Chiluba was
Yeah.
was coming to Karulushi, and he was attending one of the SDA churches because they were trying to build a church, and so he was going
Yeah.
to be there, and it was a fundraising event. So I've been interested in politics for a long time, as early as 9, 10 years old.
Yeah.
That day, I said to myself, no, I'm not going to the farm. I told my old man, I want to go and see Dr. Chiluba. And of course,
Yes.
my passion for politics and said, you can take a day off, you go. And I went to that church. It's at the big market. It's the place called the big market in Karulushi. It's right there. And I attended that service. It was just a small fundraiser. And sure enough, Dr. Chiluba was there. He wore a very nice green suit, you know.
Yeah.
And after he delivered his speech, he talked, and then all of us now stood. The congregation stood. He said he had pledged some money. I can't remember how much. He said you send something for the fundraiser. So we all stood up, and Dr. Chilua is now walking out because he has to walk out first, and then all of us now can come out of the church. So we're all walking. He's walking out, and just at the back of the church, there was this old woman, wearing almost rags, And Dr. Chilua walks past her, and he stood there and shook hands with her and almost knelt down. Very humble.
Yes.
And, and that image never left me. But it's what you're describing. It's the appearance of this humility, the appearance of your innocence that the politicians have always put up.
Yes.
And this seems to
And
be
they know, and they know that the general populace buys into that.
Hmm.
It judges them from the outside, and very difficult for the general populace to interrogate, the inner person of these characters, and they get away with that. I don't think that old woman in Kalushi knew that Chiluba had 200 pairs of shoes
Yeah.
from stolen money.
Now this brings me to something that I have learned from you. You've said to me over and over, with the few interactions we've had, you've said to me, I don't do politics with people I don't know. What do you exactly
Yeah.
mean by that?
Well, there is a school of thought now. In fact, not only that, there is a gentleman who has written a book
Mm.
about the conclave, okay, the elections at the Vatican,
Yeah.
and I can't remember the title of that book, but here is his argument. He says, after conducting his research at the Vatican,
Yes.
he's been doing some research on how popes are elected at the Vatican.
Mm.
Okay? And he says, I found something very, very surprising, that the Roman Catholic Church has something like 1 billion members.
Yes.
There's membership of almost slightly over 1 billion now.
Yes.
And yet, only 100 cardinals get to elect the Pope.
Mm.
1 billion. only 100 cardinals get to elect
Pope.
the Pope. Okay? And then he says, I compared this with the Chinese system, where the president is elected actually by his peers, by the people that know his character,
Yeah.
that who have grown up with him, that can trace his background. And he says that's what happens at the conclave. The cardinals have to pick one of their own, somebody that they know. And he says, after this research, I've changed my mind about the way we elect our presidency in the so-called democracies.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you tell me Zambia is going to the polls next Thursday.
Mm.
All these guys that are shouting, whether they want change or they want HH, ask them who has ever met HH personally or any member of the opposition personally.
Yeah.
Nobody.
No, boy. No, that's true. That's true.
Okay. And yet this guy argues. He argues, and I think rightly so, very persuasive argument, that he would rather have the Pope elected by 100 cardinals than be elected by 1 billion members of the Catholic Church who don't know the man that they are voting for. Okay? And he says that's why the Chinese system is strong. Because there's nothing like you just going there with Kama manifesto, which you just prepared two nights before, and waving it in front of this is what I'm going to do. They don't even know who you are. But somehow, they have to vote for you. Because that's what the system entails.
Yeah.
And hence my argument that if you really want to do serious politics, do it with the people that you know, the people whose background you can trace and whose background you can understand and whose character you can vouch for. Then you'll be doing politics, unless you just want a job.
Yeah, that is very interesting because the one thing I've actually observed about the Chinese is that they're very good at learning from history. The Chinese learn from history, learn from what has happened before, what's worked, and they move forward.
Yes.
I think that even the removal of presidential term limits by during the reign of Xi Jinping, it's not coincident. I think they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing because of issues of continuity and other things I've learned from is the reason why they made that decision. But that's an interesting point. I thought I throw it in there because I've heard you say this before, and you've said this to me as well. And I was trying to tie this to doing politics with people you know, and hence focusing on the politics of character.
Yeah.
I think that is very interesting. Now, I want to bring you to the most recent events. We have lost the former vice president of the Republic of Zambia, who was a good friend, Dr. Guy Scott, who has just passed on, and may his soul rest in peace. I remember when I was in Zambia, you and me went out to eat for lunch, and you took me to a place that you used to go with Guy Scott all the time to eat that steak at the Lusaka Golf Club.
Yeah.
How do you remember Dr. Guy Scott? What kind of a man was he to you as a friend, as someone you did politics with?
Look, Guy, I have a lot of fond memories about Guy. I met Guy in 1997, immediately after the 1996
elections,
general elections. we had formed a coalition of opposition political parties to figure out the way forward, because the thinking post 1996 elections was that those elections had been rigged by Chiluba.
Mm.
And the basis for that was the register of voters that was used, which came to be known as the Nikuv register. Now, Nikuv was an Israeli company that we suspected was linked to the Israeli intelligence, the Mossad. So we were protesting against the use of that register in the future. And we formed this coalition of opposition political parties and met President Chiluba at the Intercontinental Hotel. And we had a very good meeting. He yielded to a number of issues that we raised. That was the first time I got to meet Guy Scott. So we were what they call in Spanish compañeros. We were comrades in arms. And later we grew to become actually family friends. When Guy became vice president, a number of times when he is going to his office in the morning, and my house, as you know, is just before cabinet office, he would actually divert the motorcade into my yard. Okay? And I would do, by the time I come out, I would find my yard is full of his security detail.
Yeah.
So one day I asked them, why are you standing around here if you think, why have you brought this man here if you think, I can be a security risk to him? And I would be looking for Guy Scott. He would be in the kitchen telling the boy in the kitchen to give him coffee.
Mm.
So that is how close Guy and I were. I could go to Guy's house for dinner and actually demand what I wanted to eat. And I would be given.
Yeah.
So Guy and I grew to become very, very good friends.
I want to ask you about that, President, because Guy had a party called the Lima Party in the 90s.
Yeah.
Talked about this coalition. At that time, you were with Zadeko and the late
Yes.
Dean Lumumba. Now, fast forward, after that era, Mr. Sata forms PF in 2001, and then you joined PF many years after that, a few years after that. But I wanted to ask you, was Mr. Sata picked Guy Scott as the vice president of PF, and also became a ceremonial vice president of the Republic because of the issues to do with the constitution and how he could not be president. Do you think Mr. Sata picked Guy Scott based on his merit and his competences, or Mr. Sata knew that if Guy Scott was vice president and vice president of the party, and because our people like to listen to the Muzungus, this would be a very good sell to the Zambian people? What do you think was going on there? Because I think that Mr. Sata understood the psyche of the Zambians far much better than any politician I've seen in our recent history.
Yeah, I think Michael Sata picked on Guy Scott for a number of reasons.
Mm.
Okay, firstly, like all African presidents, or most African presidents, Guy did not pose a threat to him politically. He knew that there is no way a guy would ever develop the ambition
To challenge him.
to challenge him or to displace him.
Mm.
Okay, that was the one reason. The second reason, which I later came to learn, was actually that he was trying to put off those of us he thought had the ambitions, to actually challenge him.
He was a very clever man.
Yeah, very clever politician.
Mm.
Okay, and also the third reason, I think he believed that Guy would be a good bridge between his government
Mm.
and the outside world, the Muzungu world
Yeah.
outside there.
Yeah.
So he had very good reasons, and he made good judgment about why he picked on Guy
Yeah.
to become his vice president.
Because Guy was not an orator, whenever you get to mic, I attended some rallies that you had with Mr. Sata, Guy Scott. Even at the rally, you just mumble his words through and people will be excited. And then you pass on the mic to Mr. Sata.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. But he was very loyal and faithful to Michael Sata.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you couldn't. I don't know if there is anyone among us who was more loyal to Michael than Guy.
He was disciple number one.
Yes. We used to have a joke, among ourselves. He used to say to me, I'm Michael's chola boy and you are my chola boy.
No, there's a famous picture that I think you can find on social media and also just on the internet if you look for it, of Guy Scott and Mr. Sata. I think they left some meeting out of frustration and they're walking down the road, just the two of them. And it's a very iconic picture. I don't know what was going on there. I don't know if you know the picture I'm referring to.
No, I don't know if I've seen it. But most of the time, no, I don't know, maybe not most of the time. A number of times, especially in the early days before PF grew to what it became later.
Yeah.
Michael was always with Guy Scott when they went out.
Mm.
Okay, and they actually laid a very good foundation for PF, which those of us who joined later found.
Yeah.
So I think you have to give that credit to Guy.
Yeah. No, he was quite an impressive man. I knew about Lima Party in 1996. I was in grade 10, I think, in 1996. And I saw leaflets, flyers, being dished out in Luansha at that time. I remember I was at River Cruz Primary School. And there was this white man who was running a party and wanted to be president of Zambia. That's the image I remember. And then came to find out many, many years later that was Guy Scott with Lima Party. Now, President, I take you back to the 1990s. There's a man also that I was very much aware of being a young man growing up, being a boy, was Dean Mungomba. And I have a lot of respect for the man. When I came to find out that you were his vice president at some point in Zadeco, and that you actually represented him as a lawyer when he was charged with treason, I almost jumped out of my chair where I was seated and started looking for your number so I can find you. Dean Mungomba was by far very, very impressive to me. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was his charisma, but it was just this figure that was standing up to power, was standing up to authority, was standing up to the Chiluba regime. How do you remember Dean Mungomba?
Dean, like Guy, is somebody that I met in politics, but we grew very, very close together.
Mm.
Okay. When I left the MMD after my short stint there,
How was this short stint? How many months, days, weeks? What are we talking about here?
well, firstly, I'll tell you that when MMD was formed in 1991, I didn't join MMD.
I remember that part. I've heard that part, yes.
Yeah. And my argument was that I didn't have faith in the group, the crop of guys that I saw leading MMD.
Because most of them were even locked up for charges of drug
Various
trafficking
offenses
and
by
various.
KK.
Yes.
Mandrax, or peddling, trafficking, breach of exchange control regulations, under CTET, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so for me, I didn't see most of them as men and women of good character. So this issue of character, I come with it, a long way.
Mm.
It's not something that I'm just preaching now. So for that reason, I was put off and I couldn't join MMD. I came to join MMD in 1996, just before the general election. I'd been a member of the MMD for just a year. Dean had been fired, in 1995 for disagreeing with Chiluba over democratic tenets. And with him were guys like Mbita Chitala, the late Dr. Chulu Kalima,
Mm.
and a few guys that came to be known as the Young Turks. So that this zeal, to really be democratic. Dean was the American trained, as a banker, or very smart guy, always immaculately dressed, spoke very good English, very slowly and deliberately,
Okay.
and quite romantic. Listen to him.
Maybe that's
So,
why I remember that's why I remember.
yeah. When I left the MMD, because I was not picked to be a candidate in Mwembeshi,
Mm.
my immediate political party that really was getting popular and growing to be popular around was ADECO.
Mm.
So that's how I joined hands with Dean. That was 1996. And I became his vice president. I represented him, on those trumped up charges by Chiluba in 1997 and 8, when he spent 14 months in the Lusaka Central Prison. I was seeing Dean almost every other day. Okay? And I could still sit down with him in prison to brief him about how the party was doing outside, and I would get instructions from him as to what to do. He was a very good writer, and I would find that he has written down in notes for me what to do. And he would give me the notes, and I would go and do what he says we should do, where I should collect money from, and which member of the party should go out on some kama workshop and that kind of thing. And the next time when I see him, I would report back. So he was effectively still the president while he was in prison. So I was very saddened, that Dean died that young. He would have been 74 this time around. and that's not old age by today's standards.
Yes.
So he still had the
Life ahead of
life and a lot of opportunities ahead of him.
him. I remember when he died, even prior to his death, he had talked about how he contracted TB in prison, and that got worse, and then his demise.
Yeah,
Uh, my father kept talking about his death. I remember growing up because his brother Willa Mongomba, uh,
Wheeler, yeah.
my father would say, I think he watched the funeral procession and said his brother just wept like a child, could not
Yeah.
get himself together because
No, Dean touched many hearts.
Dean was promising. My late father is one of the people that was a fan of the late Dean Mungomba. So what
Yeah.
became of the Deco after he passed on? The party just disintegrated, and there was nobody to lead the party. Is that what
No,
happened?
no, no. It didn't disintegrate. What happened was that Lima Party and Zadeco got into some alliance. We actually merged
Okay.
and created a party, a new political party, which was known as the Zambia Alliance for Progress, ZAP.
Okay. Yeah.
And then ZAP came to merge with the BY Mwila's Republican Party. And we called that new party ZRP, the Zambia Republican Party.
I remember POI.
Yeah. Now, when Dean realized that his chances of becoming president of ZRP were not very high,
Mm.
he decided to disengage from that alliance. And that's how Dean and I parted company.
Mm.
Because I disagreed with Dean on principle. I said we had agreed as an executive that we are going to get into this alliance. And I'm disappointed that just because you think you are not going to lead the alliance,
You have to leave.
we should pull out of this alliance. I didn't find that decision to be one of principle.
Yeah.
So Dean and I parted company on that score. So what he did was he withdrew Zadeco from the alliance. I remained in ZRP
Mm.
as vice president to BY.
Mm.
Okay? So I'm a running mate, if you want.
in today's politics, we are
In
running.
today's politics. Then Dean meets his death,
Mm.
and a young man called Langton Schone takes over Zadeco.
Mm.
Okay? Unfortunately, Langton didn't live long. He dies also.
Mm.
There is somebody now who is still a leader of Zadeco
To this day,
to this day.
there was
So
a
the political party is still there on paper.
there was a time that Danny Pule picked up that party at some point as leader of the DECO. Am I correct?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
There's a guy now. I just can't remember his name. So Zadeco is actually still a registered political party, to my knowledge.
Okay. I've seen a picture of Dean, B.Y. Mwila, Mazoka, and another gentleman. I can't remember who. But it seemed to have been some sort of a meeting and they were discussing something and standing up. And it looks very iconic, that picture. Picture of
Yeah.
guys
Yeah, it could have been during that time.
during the formation of these alliances.
It could have been during the alliance period.
Yeah. President, I want to bring you up to, oh, by the way, I wanted to make a comment on Dean and you, um, him writing these notes to you and you going to,
Yeah.
do these um, things that you're supposed to do for the party and then reporting back. Do you think that was good training ground for you coming in as now PFSG Secretary General during Mr. Sata's time? Because I mean, you had all the vast experience of basically running a political party, and that's what you did as SG, as an administrator for the Patriotic Front. Wouldn't you think so?
Yeah, I think so. But I think I drew most of this experience from my local government
Yeah,
days.
from
Yeah.
working at the Lusaka City Council.
Yeah. I mean, if there is any field where you really learn administration,
Local government.
I don't know about now, but it was local government then.
Yeah.
Okay. It really gave us good training.
I remember you appearing on one of these interviews, and you even said that by the time that you became the Secretary General for the Patriotic Front, you walk into that office, and there's nothing to start from, not even minutes from a meeting, and you had to start all of that from the scratch to put up this infrastructure of how the
Yeah.
party operates going forward.
Yeah.
That was that must have been a daunting task.
Yeah, it was very daunting. It was very daunting. Uh, Look, I think the issue of building institutions in this part of the world is not given priority.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we are still in this era of building personality cults
Yes.
instead of an
Institute.
organization.
Yeah. But
Okay.
President, isn't it difficult to build institutions in our culture, especially in politics, with political parties making them institutions, with these members or crowds which are basically borrowed? They're neither here nor there. How do you then build an institution in this sense?
Well, if you want to build an institution, Aaron, you start with the rules,
Yeah.
and that's what most people resist.
Yeah. True.
Okay? To deal with the issue of do's and don'ts in an organization, and agree that the rules apply equally to everybody, including the founding father or fathers of that political party.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I became SG, I was actually the fourth, if not the fifth SG
Mm.
in the 5 years
Of PF's existence.
of PF's existence. And nobody paid attention, to
The
there was
root.
no discord, there were no electoral rules because nobody was talking about an election. Okay. And I came in myself and I was looking for all these documents, and there was none.
Yeah.
Okay. And I went to Mr. Sata. I said, you can't give me this job, where I'm starting from zero. And he said, that's why I've given it to you, because I know you can do it.
Typical of Mr. Sata.
Yes. I didn't come across any minutes of any central committee meeting before that. And yet there was a central committee in place. So it was not easy even when the rules were in place, I could see a lot of resistance from colleagues. Okay, I could see myself gradually becoming unpopular because I was insisting on
The rules and
people abiding by the rules. I remember one circular letter which I wrote to the provinces, especially here in Lusaka, where I said that there shall be no cadres going around levying marketeers and levying bus operators, because that was extortion. And I remember the provincial chairman then was Davis Chama, who went to a meeting in Matero and said to the cadres, the reason why you are poor and you are hungry is because of this man who says we can't collect levies from him. And he was waving my circular. Okay? So when I see these guys in prison today, I can tell you that I can't pray for any one of them. I think I'll be lying to God.
Yeah.
They are only reaping what they did sow. If they had abided by the rules, they would have a very strong organization today, and they probably would still be in government today. But they opted
They not follow the rules. But one thing you've said,
they opted for anarchy.
One thing you've said that I think is very true is that we prefer, rather than build institutions. And by the way, institutions live longer than us, long after we're gone. Just like you look at the West or the East, we were talking about China earlier. What has built China is institutions. Institutions outlast people. But we opt for us to create these personality cults in leaders at the expense of institutions. I don't know where we've got it wrong.
We've got it wrong. Let me say this. We've got it wrong because of lack of honesty with one another. Okay? Because we don't want to say to one another the best course of action here is this.
Yeah.
We've got it wrong because leaders want to be glorified and idolized, that they are infallible.
Yeah. When they're just mortal human beings.
When they are just mortal human beings who can make mistakes. Okay? And you know about the French Revolution in 1789. Okay? It started by answering a basic question. The monarchy was held to be divine. And people were being told that what the king says has come from God.
Yeah.
Okay? And anybody who said something different was locked up in the Bastille prison. You hear the French people today celebrating Bastille Day. It was the day when the king and the queen were brought to the public square, executed, and the people went and overran the prison and released everybody who was in that prison. And they still celebrate that. So the point is that when we develop a culture of honesty with one another, irrespective of the position that you occupy, we shall start building institutions. Before that, we shall continue glorifying immortals and pretend that they always be there ad infinitum, and when they die, we get surprised that they are dead. Okay? As if we didn't expect it. Yeah. And that's the situation that PF has found itself in.
Yeah.
Okay?
I remember you saying that, one thing that is for sure, one thing that we all are certain of is that one day we'll die, which is that's the only thing left. We're here now. The only thing left is that we'll die. But yet, the way some of these leaders conduct themselves, some of these leaders, so-called leaders, especially in Africa, that they conduct themselves as if they cannot die. It shocks me.
No, but sometimes it's not even them; it's us surrounding them. Okay, that's why during Kamuzu Banda's time, to say that the president would die was treason. Could be sent to prison. Yes. During Kamuzu Banda's time, to say that President one day was Marida, he went to prison. Who told you that the president will ever die? But the man is not there today.
Imagine. Oh my God.
So it's not even, I tell people, we are closer to death than we are to life.
Yes.
Okay? I'm not sure about life, but one thing that I'm certain of is death. That it shall visit me one day. Life, I'm not sure about it. I can have it today, I can have it tomorrow, maybe. But death, I'm certain that one day it shall visit me or succumb to it. I'll go back, to nature. But people don't want to accept that.
It shocks me. It shocks me. You look at the way that
people don't want to accept that.
You look at the way that governments change, laws and constitutions and all that, just to benefit one man, just to benefit one man, at the expense of the people. I mean, every Thursday I sit down for at least 15 minutes with SABC radio and give them an analysis about the politics of Central Africa, the region. And one of the countries that keeps coming up president is Cameroon with Paul Biya. We always talk about Cameroon and how this man who's ruled Cameroon for 40 years, 93 years old now, still wants to hold on to power. He's been missing from Cameroon for the last 57 days, but yet people around him wants to pretend like the man won't die.
Yes. But again, Aaron, it's not him. It's the people around him that are benefiting from, from that situation. It's not him.
Yeah.
It's not him.
It's been captured. That's very unfortunate.
It's been captured. It's been captured by those that are benefiting from that situation.
Yeah. No, it's very sad. So then, once the rules are established and people knows the do's and don'ts, then the process of developing institutions begin.
Yes.
Now, with these institutions, and this is one thing I've tried to wrestle with President, is that we saw UNIP come and UNIP go. If anything, if you look at some of other countries, the liberation movements, which became political parties and ushered in independence, some of them are very strong. They're institutions. They have moved beyond individuals and personal cults. But yet, as we had UNIP come and go, MMD come and go, PF come and go, and now we're in the era of the UPND. And it seems to me that even the UPND haven't learned some of these things that we're talking about. I remember very well you did a monologue about this specific topic, about the rules and why they're important for institutions.
Yes.
And then on one of the interviews, you talked about how shocked you were that someone could stand up there in front of the Republican president and telling the president that no one will be allowed to stand as an independent candidate in this coming election, which is completely against the rules, against the Constitution of the Republic. But yet, because that fellow wanted to please the president, he had to say that. So it seems like we learn nothing from history. Like you said, politicians are bad students of history, isn't it?
Oh yeah, if you put them in one classroom today, all the politicians, and ask them who was the first president of Zambia, I'm sure all of them would fail. They will not remember Kaunda. Okay, that's how bad they are at history.
Yeah.
Because you see, the lessons we draw from history are actually rules of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That, you know, what happened to A in exactly the same environment, under the same conditions, shall happen to you if the conditions and the environment obtaining are the same.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm.
That's the law of nature.
Mm.
So to think that it will not happen to you is folly.
Yeah.
Okay? It is folly. But again, these are lessons that often come. The other thing that is contributing to this today, I'll tell you, is religion.
Mm.
The interpretation of religion today.
Misinterpretation, I guess.
Yes, misinterpretation of religion. Okay. Now, earlier on, I spoke about the king and the queen in France and the French Revolution of 1789. You know, at this public meeting, I didn't complete the story. Somebody asked the question, you know, is it true that what the king says
from God
actually comes from God? And the people says no. They said no, it's not true.
Mm.
So then they said, oh, so the king is just as ordinary as we are. He can also lie. They said yes. He can also misuse power. They said yes. Okay?
Mm.
They said, then in that case, let's go and drag him out of the palace. We are not dragging God. We're just dragging out a human being.
Yeah.
Okay? Charles the First in England, exactly the same.
Yes.
He was telling Parliament that, you know, I have divine powers.
Mm.
You can't challenge what I say because it comes from God. Okay? Because the Bible says all authority comes from God. Now, the interpretation is that Idi Amin came from God. I don't agree myself. but the pastor says so.
But President, just to add on to that, this is the notion that I wrestle with also. I don't understand where people get this. That you come August 13th, Zambian people line up, I go and vote and choose a leader. Okay,
Yeah.
whoever gets 50+1 becomes president. And someone comes and says, this leader is given to us by God. When we, the people, chose the leader.
Yeah.
That is very problematic for us because God does not force you to make choices. God does not intervene in your choices.
And the leader turns out to be a thief. Which God can give you a thief for a president? Which God? Which God can give you a murderer for a president?
And you hear...
That is not the God that I know of myself.
You hear the papa saying...
But this is...
leadership comes from God. They don't even qualify what leadership they're talking about. Is it political leadership? Is it spiritual leadership? What leadership are they referring to? No,
No,
leadership.
there is something that is going on now, which is very interesting.
Eh?
Yesterday, I saw a video clip on social media of some papa predicting who is going to win the presidential election
Okay.
on the 15th of August. Okay.
Mm.
Today, I read another papa making another prediction,
A different.
not in line with the one that I saw yesterday,
Mm.
but he's also talking about a different candidate. So I ask myself a question: how can God contradict himself?
If both of these papas are talking to the same God, how do
Yes, but they have two different candidates who are winning. How can that happen?
yeah.
It just means that they are lying to us. It's not God they are talking to. They are
Yeah,
talking about themselves, what they think and how they feel.
absolutely. That's
Yeah.
the truth. You know, this notion that no, whoever we vote for, leadership comes from God. It's God who has put them there.
No,
No, no, no, no. Are you serious?
no,
Because
it's not true.
God never intervenes with the choices that you make or the agency that is given you. You have the right to choose whoever you want to choose in a
Yeah,
political dispensation. That has nothing to do with divine leadership.
yeah.
But yet, we see these papas. But anyway, yes, the religion has been problematic. But would you then agree with the kind of approach that, for example, we've had in Rwanda, Paul Kagame, closing down some churches and requiring that people who are religious practitioners actually do have to go through some sort of training and college and be given a certificate for them to practice rather than just waking up and starting a church somewhere. Would that be a right approach, or would there be something else that you would propose to regulate this kind of mischief?
Well, you know, issues of religion are invariably personal.
Yeah.
Okay, how we perceive God, how we imagine God, uh,
Worship him.
is different from one individual to another. That's why you know religion is based basically fundamentally on faith.
Yeah.
Okay, there is a Hebrew saying which goes like this: that if I knew God, I would be God.
Yeah.
Okay, so none of us knows God. That's why we are not God. The view I take is that what you actually need, Aaron, is to have an informed populace.
Yeah.
I think the issue of education is very important. The issue of education that comes with the political consciousness,
But that is,
your ability to question things,
yeah.
okay, irrespective of who is saying what to you and who is doing what to you.
Yeah. But President, it's an uphill battle. It's something very difficult to accomplish with the literacy of 2%, like you say, only about 2% Zambians can read and write.
Yes,
How
yes.
do we achieve that kind of
But
conscious?
first you identify or define the problem.
Mm.
I don't think that our governments have defined that as a problem.
Yeah, very true.
Okay? I don't think so. Because if they did, they would be investing a lot of money in education.
No, in fact, it saves them because these papas are prophesying and predicting them to win elections and they're
Yeah,
following. So
yeah,
it can't be a problem for them.
yes. I laugh myself when I was baptized at Kafia Secondary School in 1974. How can a young man who was born in 1990 be my spiritual father? Me, me was baptized in 1970. Before he was born, he must be my father spiritually. Who is supposed to know God more between him and myself?
President,
You tell me.
President, oh, hold on, what? Um, I have a problem with that too, because, President, if you read the New Testament, you read Jesus Christ, none of the disciples refers to him as their spiritual father. In fact, even
No.
call no one father because there's only one father in heaven, you know? This idea that this was my spiritual father, whatever, things that they get from the Old Testament or Elijah's time and so on and so forth, it bothers me because even myself, I only have one spiritual father who's my father in heaven, and I have an earthly father.
Yes.
Do I need the spiritual father here, a
Yeah.
so-called papa, to be a spiritual father to you?
Yes.
Much less,
Yes. And me,
first of all,
I must go and kneel down, and he's holding my head with my gray hair, a boy of 30, and is my father. Oh, come on.
that's that's an interesting one. No, no, I agree with you. That's just mischief.
That's mischief, yes. That's being mischievous. But somehow people buy into that. They're so desperate, they don't know how to solve their problems, and they submit to that.
Unfortunately, especially our women, because this religion thing is so emotional and appeals to how they feel,
Yes,
they buy into this.
yes,
That's a
yes.
bad part. President, let me bring you to our politics today. I know there's a lot we can cover in terms of the history of the PF and your work there and what happened, and of course the demise of Mr. Sata that led to the ECL regime. I will not go much on that because I want us to talk about the elections. The upcoming elections are in less than 7 days, 5 days or so, and we are looking at an election that might be interesting by all accounts. I mean, for the longest time, we heard from the ruling United Party for National Development that they had no opposition, they had no challenger. I mean, I recall even I'll mention his name because he has appeared on this podcast before. I recall Honorable Aimbe when he appeared to debate Sakuiva Scott over Bill 7 because State Council Sakuiva had challenged President Hakainde Chilema to a debate. And of course, Aimbe stepped forward. He's the one who initiated the bill, and they had a debate. I think it was conducted by Diamond TV, if I'm not mistaken. And even in that debate, Haimbe was saying, as late as December last year, that which opposition, we've dismantled the opposition, there's no opposition in the country. He said that in that debate. And I thought to myself, it was a bit, quite arrogant. It wasn't well placed the way he said it, but he did. But we heard many, many people voice that. Even the so-called media director, Maximo. These are fellows who have put it on record that, the UPND will just 2026 will be walking the park because they worked so hard and there's literally no opposition. Here we are. It is looking like the opposition is here. It is looking like there's someone that is actually challenging that narrative. What do you think went wrong for the UPND to have misread the mood in terms of saying the country was wiped out of the opposition? What was going on? Some of these talking heads, some of these people who were championing this narrative, they thought really that there would be no one to challenge President Hakainde Hichilema at the polls in 2026.
Yeah. I think we all seem to understand politics differently. Okay.
What informs that perception, experience? Why do people understand politics differently?
Well, our experiences are different.
Mm.
Our experiences are different. And if you have never been in active politics, you should own up
Yeah.
that I don't have the experience, I may not have the knowledge. Because politics is a career, it's a field on its own.
Yeah.
Okay? The problem with our politics is that people declare themselves to be politicians.
Mm.
Okay? So you actually
Especially like you said, after they have nothing to do. That's when they become politicians, or they become
yes,
pastors.
yes. There are two disciplines which are misrepresented, or business and politics. Okay? If you are unemployed, it's very easy to declare yourself a businessman.
Mm.
Even if you are just selling tomato, you're a businessman or woman.
Mm.
And you can also declare yourself a politician. Okay? And the third thing that is coming up now, you can declare yourself a pastor.
Mm.
Nobody will argue with you. Okay? So we have different, to say that there is no opposition, Aaron, it's like saying there are no people.
Yeah.
Gambia. Because you see, power will always have a countervailing power structure.
Yeah.
It's a dialectical arrangement.
Yes.
Okay? It is a dialectical arrangement. The power of opposites.
Yes.
Where you find the power held by X, there is a countervailing measure of power held by Y, and it may just differ in terms of who holds the more power than the other.
Yes.
Okay? So if you understand that principle, then you can't make that statement.
Yeah.
It's a curse upon yourself when you make it.
Mm.
Okay? And I'm sure our colleagues in the UPND have learned something from this experience. They'll be better politicians now.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the experience is the best teacher.
Yeah.
They will not say it again. Okay?
Mm.
So, this is a democracy. We need contestation. Power must be contested
Yes.
in the most peaceful and democratic manner. We must cross-pollinate ideas. We must argue, we must debate.
Mm.
We must agree, we must disagree. That's how you develop society.
Yeah. But
Okay?
President, in terms of disagreeing and agreeing, the problem we've seen, like we have mentioned, in most of these so-called democracies in some of our countries, is that when you disagree on principle with, uh, you know, someone, it looks like you are against them, or um, you don't mean well, or you don't support them, and it's unfortunate because I remember one of these fellows in the opposition now, I think he's Don't Say Alliance Secretary General, had written an article sometime last year, about he was ranking the influence of these politicians in the opposition. And the article was completely, I mean, not even someone who has done basic political science 101 could agree with that. So I wrote a counter, you know, article to that, and I said, but this is completely misguided. Just because a political party has a website and the political party has a secretariat, then you're telling me that the political party has influence, or the leader of that party has influence, or is going to be. And you look at this election now. For example, the front runner in the opposition looks like it's Brian Mundibera Makebizuru ticket. Those were not even in the article that this fellow wrote last year, because they were not even candidates. But the fellows that we've had in the opposition for a while since 2021, he had even ranked them, top one or top two, as these are the influential opposition leaders and politicians going to 2026 elections. And where are they? You can't even hear any of their names. So the idea that some people's experience, of course, our experience is different. Some people think they are more experienced because they have titles or they were there when this and this happened. They think they have monopoly on some sort of analysis, or they understand politics better, when in fact they're just being mischievous. Because
Yeah.
I've been disappointed with even some so-called researchers, who are writing personal articles against the incumbent, the Republican president, or other politicians, without these articles being based on a real substance or facts or historical facts and experiences of things that happen. But they just seem to be emotional. Maybe it's because we're in a season of elections and people's moods are charged. I don't know. But I find those kind of arguments very problematic. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that they try to do at the university is to teach us objectivity.
Yes.
They try very hard that we should be objective in the way we analyze issues, the way we apply theories, and the way we get to conclusion. I'll tell you what I've come to discover myself.
Mm.
What you are or what you want to be is a personal decision.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm.
Your parents can teach you to be kind.
Yeah.
And you probably pretend to be kind for as long as you are under their control.
Yes.
And when you leave that home, you just become a monster.
Yeah. And that's a choice.
Okay? That's your choice. You have decided what you want to be, not who you want to be. Who you want to be, you are Aaron Ngambi. But what you want to be in terms of character is a totally different thing.
Yeah.
So I've come to realize that even in terms of objectivity, it is the same. You to train your mind, that I may have a view, but somebody else may have a better view than mine. It's something that you must train yourself to accept. Okay? To think that I want to be president, but the Zambian people may pick on somebody else, not me. It's something that you have to train your mind.
Yeah. Mm.
Okay? To think that this is my candidate, and if he gets to become president, I can get a job. But chances are that he may not become one. You ought to train your mind to accept that reality. Okay? So this is not about title. This is not about how many PhDs you hold. This is not about how many master's degrees you hold. This is just a simple realism of what you want to be as a person. Okay? You can choose to bury your head in the sand, But you can't buy truth. You can't bury truth and you can't bury reality. So I've been observing, and also if you really want to be honorable, even to yourself, just declare your interest. If your candidate is Munduwire, just say that my candidate is Brian Munduwire. I'll vote for him. Yes, I know he has weaknesses, but he is my choice.
Yeah.
Nobody will have qualms with you. Nobody will quarrel with you. Okay? Because that is your personal choice. Who you want to vote for is entirely your personal choice. Okay? What becomes the problem is when I tell you my choice and you want to have a quarrel with me.
Yeah.
that becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Okay? But if I'm going to respect your choice, you should equally respect my choice.
Right.
Even if you think it is unreasonable.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's what I think. And that is my choice.
Yeah.
So the people that are trying even to predict these elections, I can see them not approaching their predictions with the objectivity. Okay? And this is how African leaders get misled. After the 2008 elections, the by-election that followed President Mwanawasa's death,
yes,
Michael Sata lost that election to RB by 35,000 votes.
Very close election.
Very close. Very close to call. When we had our post-mortem Central Committee meeting, the general consensus was that RB had rigged that election against Michael Sata. I disagreed. I said, we have just lost the election. We haven't done enough work on the ground. I disagreed. And Michael Sata was in the meeting. He was chairing the meeting. I didn't care how he thought about my position. That's what I believed in.
Maybe that's why he didn't even petition that election.
No, we petitioned.
Oh, you petitioned?
We petitioned it and then abandoned the petition.
Withdrew the petition.
Yes. We petitioned and then abandoned the petition. But the point I'm making is that this is how African leaders get misled. Because you want to be surrounded by people that pamper you.
Yeah.
I'm reading a book now by Ken Flower. Ken Flower is a former Director General of Intelligence under Ian Smith.
Northern Rhodesia.
He set up the Central Intelligence Organization.
Southern Rhodesia.
Okay? The Prime Minister then in Rhodesia was a guy called Winston Field. So he sets up the CIO and he starts working with the Field. Field is ousted by Ian Smith and the group. So Ian Smith becomes Prime Minister. Ken Flower goes to Ian Smith and says to him, I have come to offer my resignation. And the reason is that I was actually serving your predecessor. And I know your agenda is to declare UDI. As far as the intelligence community is concerned, we think UDI would be a bad idea. So maybe you should find another Director General of Intelligence
Mm.
who may be in line with what you want to achieve. You know what Ian Smith said?
Mm.
No, you continue. Because everybody around me would want to tell me what I want to hear, and you are the only one who is going to tell me something that is different. That's the reason I want you to continue.
Very smart guy.
Okay? In 1980, Mugabe wins the election. ZANU-PF wins the election.
Mm.
Ken Flower goes to Robert Mugabe and says, I've come to resign.
Mm.
Because I was leading the agency that was trying to kill you.
Yeah.
The guy says in the book. And Mugabe says, why are you going? After all, you failed to kill me.
So you stay.
You stay. You stay. He stayed for another 3 years as head of the Central Intelligence Organization.
Mm.
Okay? He has written a book entitled Saving Secretly by Ken Flower. Now, I'm giving this brief review of the book to show how people that have trained their minds to hear what they may not want to hear behave. Okay? And Ken Flower served Ian Smith for 15 years. Some of the recommendations he was making from the Central Intelligence Organization, Ian Smith just ignored them. And he says it in the book. Okay? But they never parted company.
Mm.
So, you know, to be a complete human being is a project on its own.
Yes, yes.
It's different from being educated.
It's true.
There are two different people, a complete human being
And an
and a person who is educated.
Yeah.
Okay? All those guys that we read about, you know, in history, you know, the Socrates, you know, you don't read that Aristotle had a PhD. No.
No.
You don't read that Socrates had a PhD. No. They just played around with ideas and they spent time interrogating society and training their minds. When Galileo was being tried for blasphemy, because the Catholic Church was preaching that, in fact, the sun goes around the earth. The centrality of the universe is the earth. And Galileo says, no, you are wrong. It's actually
The earth that goes around the
the
sun.
earth that orbits around the sun. Galileo was executed after a trial, quote unquote. And when they asked him, he said, it still doesn't change my position. The man was executed. Wasn't he right? He was. Wasn't the church wrong? It was. Okay? So, to become a complete human being starts in your mind. That, you know, one day somebody will disappoint you, that one day you make a wrong decision that you may later on regret, and you can draw lessons from that and do it, you know, right the next time, you know. Bwana, it takes time, it takes sleepless nights. Everything else is free. Oxygen is free. You don't even have to think about it to breathe. So what's your problem? You don't have to be intelligent to breathe.
No. No.
But to be able to have a frame of mind that questions everything takes special effort.
So does this explain President, when you talk about training your mind, does this explain why you have often said that I would go to a grave a happy man? I won't be disappointed going to the grave if I don't become president of this country. Something like that. I'm
Yeah.
paraphrasing.
Yes. Yes. Because people think that I lose sleep over becoming president. No, I don't. If the people of Zambia want, they shall give it to me. If they don't want, I'll still not be disappointed. So when I read on social media, sometimes I make a comment and people say, "Oh no, you're jealous, you're just bitter." I just laugh to myself. I say to myself, I wish you knew the person that you are talking to. I've trained my mind. Okay? I've been defeated before. I've failed before. I write in my book that I failed 2 courses at Ziare. First time to fail an exam in my life since I started grade 1. First time. But I learned something from that setback. My friends were mocking me because they knew I was one of the most intelligent fellows around. They mocked me. When I researched for I researched the 2 courses, I got distinction in both. I had to acquit myself.
From the first attempt.
Yes. But I spent 1 year brooding with the disappointment that I had failed. But I said to myself, let me get myself collected and relaunch myself and pass these 2 courses. So it takes character. It takes discipline. And I'm not saying this because I think I'm the best person. No. I just know that I'm disciplined. That I know. I also know that I've got character. That I know. Okay?
Yeah.
But they have not come by accident. Yeah. I've had to work at these virtues.
Yeah. In fact, Aristotle makes the point, argues that the purpose of politics is to cultivate the virtue and
yes,
in the citizen. The purpose of politics is to cultivate this virtue and character in the citizens and to have a good life. And so I think that, President, I don't know about others, but I think that when you know what is right and you do it, there's an inner feeling, whether you are rich or poor, whether you've eaten, you haven't eaten, you'll be able to know that you've done the right thing. There's an inner feeling of actually you feel proud of yourself of having done the right thing. That is the purpose. That is the purpose of our politics. Should be the purpose of our politics, is to cultivate that virtue. So it doesn't come with people who are disciplined, of no character. People want materialistic.
No.
People are corrupt. That is not the essence of politics.
No. No.
So, President,
in 1925,
yes.
In 1925, George Bernard Shaw won the Nobel Peace, the Nobel Prize for Literature. Okay? And he refused to accept it.
Mm.
He says, I write not to be rewarded.
Mm.
So the Nobel Committee pleaded with him, and he said, okay, let's reach a compromise. Give me the Nobel Prize, but I don't want the money part of it. When they pleaded with him again, he got the money and donated it to charity.
Mm.
Those are men of... And GBS was not rich.
Yeah.
He's a poor man. He was he was not rich. He was a literary guy. He had written books. But he's not listed as one of the rich people in the then England. But he had the principle to advance.
President,
That
it reminds me of the Vietnamese, one of these guys who was a military general, a politician, and became a diplomat, Lee Dak To. Lee Dak To and Henry Kissinger were given the Nobel Peace Prize together. And Lee Dak To refused to take it. He said that
he refused.
He said, I cannot take it because the Americans have not honored the peace accord that they signed in Paris. He says, in good conscience, I cannot accept this because this is something that the Americans have not lived up to, and if you're giving it together, me with the Americans, I can't receive it. And he never received the Nobel Peace Prize. Lee Dak To, from Vietnam. How many people can give up the Nobel Peace Prize? I mean, just getting the...
How many people can give up the Nobel Peace Prize?
Just getting the prize.
It comes with the something, there's something there.
And not only the something, President, you become the Nobel laureate. You are speaking...
Laureate, yes. Just the pride that it carries and the recognition.
You can live off of speaking engagements for the rest of your life because people just, he's a Nobel Peace Prize winner, They give you something to speak, But
yes.
These are people, and if you look at them, even Lee Dak To was not rich, poor fellow.
No.
Came from. He was probably a son of a rice farmer, peasant farmers.
Julius Nyerere, when Mozambique got its independence, they offered to build him a house. He declined. He said, I was not supporting Frelimo to be rewarded. It was out of principle.
Yeah.
He refused.
But yet today we hear of leaders having immersions in Eswatini and having offshore accounts with business for the world.
Yes.
These are our leaders today.
Yes. They're in business. They're in political office for business.
Yeah.
To amass wealth, to develop, insatiable appetite, for consumption, change their lifestyle, even their diet. Not Nyerere.
That's interesting. President, I want to bring this to a close. I want to bring you back to why we were discussing a good man being the same or not being the same as a good citizen. And we agreed that this has to do a lot with morality, virtue, and character. We have seen these are issues, these are virtues that are lacking in society. These are things that when we look at today, people don't even see lying as a problem,
Yeah.
People don't see telling something that is not true as a problem, and it doesn't bother them. But this is very, very much prominent now in our politics. Where do we go from here? What kind of society can we cultivate going forward? We have an election coming up in a few days, like we said. We've heard people say all sorts of pronouncements on these campaign trails. We've seen character assassination. And worse enough, now we're even seeing the violence that is being recorded in some parts of the country. 62 years on after independence, what can be done differently? What kind of leadership do we deserve? In conclusion, can you give me a picture of what Zambia or the people of Zambia should be focused on?
Look, we are growing a democracy. We are constructing a society which is supposed to be founded on the cross-pollination of ideas and the divergence of views by different citizens. But all the countries that we have seen, Aaron, that have succeeded, they have built institutions and they have had the strong leadership. And I think that is where we start from. I'm disappointed myself that we are witnessing these acts of violence during the run-up to this election. What is even more disappointing is the impunity displayed by those involved.
Yeah.
If you remember, the president had made a statement condemning the violence.
Very strong statement.
Very strong statement, which we've never heard before. Very strong statement. But what did we see? The following day, there was violence. That's what I call impunity. Lack of respect for even the leader of a political party to which you belong. So if you can't respect a leader of the political party to which you belong, how will you respect other citizens that don't belong to that political party? We have a constitutional provision in the economic front that you must show respect towards other members of the party and also respect other citizens that may not be members of the economic front. And if we find that you are acting otherwise, we shall expel you from the party. I think political parties need to have very stringent rules as to the code of discipline. We have left this situation, in such a laissez-faire environment that people think that if they are connected within the party, they are exempt from abiding by the rules. That is a danger when you don't build an institution with the rules. Okay? So I hope that not only the ruling party, but other political parties take a leaf from what we have done in the EF to ensure that membership of the party is founded on good character and good standing. So that those who want to join, if they are rogues, they must reform before they even join.
Yeah.
Okay? We have a very interesting arrangement, Aaron, in this country where people don't even apply, to join a political party so that you can have a background check on them. They just hear where there's a camarade and they go and stand there and announce that they have joined the party. That's not how you join the party. You apply to join the party. You don't go to a company just because you hear there is a vacancy of a manager and you report, you start working. You apply. Why is it so easy in politics?
Yeah.
You apply so that the system in the party can sit down, the authority can sit down and say, can we admit this one to the membership of the party? Once people know that there's a chance of the party saying yes or no, this nonsense will stop. Now, you are cooking bream fish and bubble fish, and octopus, frogs in the same pot. Monga ni China. Okay?
Yeah.
That is the problem. But this goes back to where we started from. Good citizens, institutions founded on rules and accepted the principle. If I'm not mistaken, I think from my research I did in one of my podcasts, my monologues, the US Constitution since 1776 has only been amended 27 times.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay? 27 times since 1770, in 250 years plus. How many times has the Zambian Constitution been amended in 62 years? Almost every other 10 years.
Every time someone comes new, they want to amend the constitution.
Everybody wants, a constitution that suits them. The founding fathers of the US Constitution are long, long gone. But what they said in 1787, when they were ratifying the Constitution, still stands to hold the 50 states together into a formidable nation. Can't we learn lessons from that? They didn't come from heaven. They are not angels. They are mortals like us. The Chinese Communist Party is 105 years old now. It has brought together more than 10 dynasties. It has a landmass of something like 10.2 million square kilometers. You know what is holding it together? The system, rules, and laws of the country. Xi Jinping is not everywhere, but the rules and laws are everywhere. Okay? So we can learn from others and get to do the right thing. But even the decision to do the right thing must be a spirit carried by men and women that want to achieve that. It can't be by accident. And those men and women are what the Zambian people should be looking for on Thursday, the 13th of August, when they go to vote.
Yeah, President, unfortunately, we have seen, people, like you were saying, just at the rally, someone says, I've joined the party.
Yeah.
We've even seen people that were so-called in the PF fighting the UPND are now in the UPND camp.
Yes.
Party camp. And now we're even confused because the UPND can't tell us which one is PF because they're pointing at Mundibira Makeb, they're PF, but they're forgetting the PF who have joined them in the bedroom. So this just shows us that people, unfortunately, in our politics, do things for personal interest and personal.
Yeah.
This has nothing.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with putting the country first.
No.
Pursuing the virtues that makes us good citizens for the sake of the country. Nothing.
Not at all.
That's the sad part. But we don't want to end it on a sad note. I'd like to give you a few words to speak to our viewers and listeners on this podcast. As we conclude, what are your thoughts about post-elections? Of course, election day will be peaceful. We pray that it will be as it has always been in Zambia. And do we see a situation where we retain peace and we retain, the kind of decorum that we're known for as a country?
Well, I can tell you that from experience, the Zambian people are the same. So Thursday next week will be a holiday. They will get up at 4, 5 a.m., go and cast their vote, get back home, await the results. And when the results are pronounced by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, that is the end of the game.
Yeah. Mm.
That I'm certain. That I'm very sure.
I think that is very true, and I also can attest to that. I think that is what happens after the voting ends. Um, the day is coming, the results are coming in, the winners are declared. Maybe 2, 3 days later, then life goes back to normal.
Yeah.
Because that's what Zambians are known for, and and I think that we should maintain that not only for now, but for future generations to come, because this is something our parents have passed down onto us, something that your generation will pass on to us, and we should pass on the same tradition to the coming generations.
Yeah.
Elections should be bigger than one person or one specific party or one specific ambition. Elections should be to make sure that we make progress as a democracy and we move forward.
Yeah. So, thanks.
President Wynter Kabimba, President of the Economic Bank, thank you very much for joining us for Justified Politics.
Thank you for having me.
I look forward to having you back again sometime. Please come back again.
No problem. No problem. Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you, President. You have a wonderful day.